Hello and welcome to the Housing Minute. My name is Samuel Gunter. I'm the Executive Director of the North Carolina Housing Coalition, and today I just want to say a quick word about the executive order that was signed on July 24th that, in the words of the White House, seeks to restore order to American cities and remove vagrant individuals from our streets. There's a lot to unpack in this about the impact on systems that we know and use. You can read more about that in our policy update below, but I want to say a word about the values that underpin this kind of executive order and say that there's nothing new under the sun. We have seen this ramp up over the last several months and years. We've talked at length here about the grants past Supreme Court decision. We've talked about a number of municipalities in this state passing ordinances that restrict public spaces from folks experiencing homelessness. Bills filed at the General Assembly that seek to clarify local authority to do the same. We have seen this type of push now for a while, and I want to be very clear that this type of intervention is targeted not at ending homelessness, but at ending the visibility of homelessness, and that is a very significant difference. The quote that the White House press release gave President Trump around this was that we will use every tool, lever, and authority to get the homeless off our streets. We want to take care of them, but they have to be off our streets. And that's it, right? It's about removing people, not about solving a problem. And while there's a lot to unpack in this, I want to be very clear that if you are only focused on solving the visibility of a problem, you are only going to make it worse. If all you're doing is moving folks in crisis from one place to another place where you can't see them, that never results in solutions. That only results in more pain, more trauma, and makes it even more difficult to come out the other end to get to a place where you can thrive. For those of us who do this work day in and day out, we know that it's hard. We know that it takes more resources. But if you're going to shift resources that are trying to find people housing, get people stably housed, wrap services around those folks who need it, you're going to take resources from that and put it into interventions that force people out of public spaces and into institutional settings where we're not going to know if they're getting the help they need. You're robbing the system that is trying to solve problems and moving it into one that is trying to make it less visible. Never does that solve the problem. We want to be in a place where folks in our communities can thrive. For those of you who've seen me speak lately, you've heard me say a version of this before, but I think our state motto is instructive here. To be rather than to seem. If you're going to invest time and resources and dedicate your work to ensuring that we are ending homelessness in America, then moving all your resources and efforts to physically removing people from public spaces is not it. If we've got limited resources, pour those into actually providing housing for folks and wrapping services around them. It's disappointing to see this kind of effort because public systems and public interventions can work for folks. They can move folks to more stable housing and help give them a platform to thrive. But when you rob that system and rob the organizations that are doing this work and are dedicated to doing it day in and day out, and you move it over to removing visibility, we're getting further and further away from a solution, and it's only going to exacerbate the problem. We'll be talking more about this in the future and unpacking a little bit more about what this means for those of you who run emergency shelter, who do street outreach, who are involved in rapid rehousing and permanent supportive housing and so on and so forth. But today I just wanted to lift up the fact that this is not a solution to a problem. This is a solution to the visibility. And pouring our resources behind the visibility and not the actual problem itself is getting us further away from thriving communities. We'll see you next time.